I say hunker down.
Hunker down.
Hunker down, y'all.
Hunker down.
Hunker down.
Hunker down.
Hunker down.
Hunker down.
Hunker down.
Oh, you hear that? That's Bad Street USA, which means we're out of a hunk tonight, and that hunk is Allie. One day we're going to do a episode where it's just me and Allie, and then who knows what that sort of dynamic is like.
I don't know.
You're like the Mo of these stooges.
Is that
Without
right?
you, this shit doesn't go down.
We had a conversation on Twitter the other day with, I want to say it was Paris B, who told us...
My new friend at Jackson Square.
Or it might have been TK Wharton. He told us that he had figured out which stooge is which.
Oh, yeah? Were you Mo?
No, well, he didn't tell me. I said we were all Shimp. But that didn't seem to be the answer. And then another...
Was there a Brainiac? I guess Mo was the Brainiac.
Yeah.
So then Allie would be Mo.
Maybe.
And then what role did Larry play?
I don't know. I'm not a big Stooges expert.
I knew Mo was the leader and Curly was the absolute fuck up. But then what was Larry? Just
the medium one?
Also ran?
Maybe.
Huh.
We had another conversation on Twitter about the thing you just mentioned. Like, why is there no... And I think this is probably with Lee. No, it was somebody else. But it was, why is there never a Freebird episode with just Lance and Allie? And the answer was Jeff is kind of the tilapia of the show.
Yeah, you're always available.
Right.
Your schedule is more open than ours, which seems strange to me, but I don't know. You're definitely always here. We're going to do one deliberately without you one day.
We did. The last one we did with Allie was in the bar, and we put in the music. We put in the Bad Street music.
Thank you for doing that.
But we completely forgot to mention that it was a
Freebird episode.
We're in the bar. So,
well, if what I hope to happens in the 100th or so episode, they will just know,
right,
that when they hear the music, Bad Street USA, they will know that it's a Freebird episode.
Some kind of.
There was an episode a few times back that we didn't mention that the Freebirds who wrote that song and for whom this dynamic is named for got put into the WWE Hall of Fame. The WrestleMania episode where we talked about that, I failed to mention that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
damn, dude, that's your department.
Yeah, and it was a pretty entertaining segment when they went in there as well. But oh well, I'll start a wrestling podcast. For that, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be, or maybe that'll be the new feature. Who knows? We did mention last time that we're gonna have Pat come on and explain movies to us.
Engineer Pat, yeah.
So maybe we'll just have you do wrestling,
particularly Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
We're coming to you from Hogs Head Jesus Studios here in beautiful Holly Grove / Leonidas, East Carrollton.
Leonidas is what I think the people say.
This is
a neighborhood.
If you listen carefully, and if we're so lucky, you may hear the sound of Holly Grove Peacock. I have the door open, and I heard him just a few minutes ago. So he is definitely looking for some peahen tonight. But I also heard that Lisa Palumbo call him the P-Town Peacock.
The P-Town Peacock.
Is
this the same peacock we're talking about?
I mean, how many peacocks could there be?
There might be more than one peacock.
Really?
Yeah.
Just roaming wild in the city streets.
You never know. There's all kinds of things.
I think she lives right down the road here, doesn't she?
Okay, well, there it is.
I think, yeah. I think Lisa Palumbo lives right down the road.
You guys share a peacock now.
Oh yeah,
That's nice.
oh yeah. But she called it the P-Town Peacock, which I'm assuming P-Town is Pigeon Town.
Yeah.
And this is definitely not Pigeon Town.
Well, it's not Peacock Town.
No.
Or maybe that's...
Pigeon Town is where Xavier is, right?
Maybe that's the name of the neighborhood now, is Peacock Town.
Okay. Well, I'll take it. But the SPCA was trying to haul him away when she was talking about it.
Oh, no.
And he eluded them.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah. I like having him there. It makes me feel like I live in it.
So it's a wild peacock. It's not like a peacock that somebody has.
I think somebody feeds him.
It's a peacock that you have to call the SPCA to come and get.
I don't. I like having him around, but apparently some douchebags have called the SPCA on him. I don't see. He's loud, but who cares?
Okay.
Well, maybe we should, car stereos.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be a guest on the next one. Peacock sitting in for Allie today. P-Town Peacock. That'll be...
Well, if I hear him, I will note it, and hopefully these mics will pick it up.
Sure. Anyway, what do we got to talk about today?
Well, we are sitting here on the heels of an announcement by Mr. Ted Cruz, who has just announced he is suspending his campaign.
Moments before we went on here. Well, maybe an hour.
Came across the news wires.
Yeah.
And that's a different sort of language, though. He's not dropping out. He's suspending his campaign.
That's what they all do now. They suspend their campaigns. They go into suspended animation. So maybe...
Like they're hoping that maybe the voters will go out and say, no, we're going to keep voting for you.
No. When they get to Jupiter, they'll all wake up and it'll be...
Okay.
They'll all be together with
2010 reference?
Something like that.
All worlds are yours except Io?
Yes.
Tip no landings there.
Right.
This is coming on the heels of what I have been calling, and I have prepared a little list of the 9 things that make up Ted Cruz's worst week ever.
Culminating in the loss in the Indiana primary.
Well, don't give it away. It
Okay.
might not have been the worst thing that happened to Ted Cruz.
it's the ultimate thing.
It is the ultimate. He had a bad week.
Okay.
Maybe one of the worst weeks a politician has ever had in terms of how many bad things happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure getting shot watching a play or having your brains blown out or...
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
Having to blatantly lie about a blowjob. Those are probably pretty bad weeks, but they were mostly one thing that happened. So I prepared a list, and it starts with number 9, lost 5 states in one night.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get a single one of those Eastern Seaboard states.
And yet, momentum continued to build. According to the press,
He put it all on the field in Indiana, which we're going to get to.
Okay.
Number 8, he admonished a lady on TV for even mentioning Trump. She had asked a governor he was with, the governor of Indiana, I think. And he kind of chewed her out by like, hey, why do you always got to talk about Trump? And
hi, I'm here.
And she was like, no, he was like, no, what you just did. And then it was like, it was awkward in like, where you're in a waiting room and you're hearing a couple fight.
Mom, what about me?
Yeah.
He's Ted Cruz, the middle child of the Republican primary.
The Jan Brady.
Right.
Followed that. This is kind of a standard for him. His daughter ran away from him. Repulsed. That's become a bit of a standard for him. It has happened several times, but it happened again.
Proving that his daughter is actually human, which is actually, and within itself, sort of suspicious. But
she, like the Republican electorate, she ran away from him repulsed. And then this seemed like it was going to be a good thing, and that's what's great about it, is that he kind of patterned this as a good thing, but it was actually just another terrible thing that happened to him this week. Was he announced Carly Fiorina as his running mate before. First of all, he announced who the Onion called the wildly popular Carly Fiorina.
Wildly popular.
And then he did it like, I remember like somebody who doesn't really know a lot about politics saying to me, is it normal for them to announce a running mate before they've been got the nomination? I was like, no, that is not normal.
No, the last time I think that happened was Reagan in 76. He announced
The one he lost.
The one he lost. But Reagan was the insurgent Trump of his time, to be rough about it. But he was he was running against the sitting president, and ginning up the. At the time, people thought were the crazy conservative wackos,
right? Who
and they were going to have a contested convention, but they sort of did, but it was really clumsy. And Reagan, one of the stunts that he did was he named a vice president before that he even had a chance to secure the nomination.
And who was it? Dick Cheney?
No, it was Thomas Eagleton.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
Is that his name?
He's got Eagle right there
remember
in his name.
Eagleton.
How can you not vote for him?
No, that might not be the right name. Shit. Why do I have Thomas Eagleton in my head? Go ahead. I'll come back to it.
Okay, well, he announced Carly as his running mate. And then number 5, she fell off a stage.
Right.
Which... all these other things had already started to happen, and then I was like starting to be aware how bad a week he was having, and then I just saw that like, oh, Carly fell off a stage after announcing him as the next president of the United States, as if the universe itself
no,
would not
it
let
wasn't
that stand.
Eagleton. It was Schweiker. It was Richard Schweiker of Pennsylvania. I'm sorry. I've got I'm already. This is two weeks in a row. I've totally blown something. I blew the skids and the shins last week.
Yeah,
and this week I've got Eagleton confused with Schweiker. Reagan chose Richard Schweiker to be his theoretical running mate.
Eagleton is a way cooler name.
Yeah.
Schweiker.
Yes.
No, that guy cannot be president. That's not a presidential name.
Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, but now I've already boned 2 things.
Carly fell off the stage.
Yeah,
She
Carly
said,
fell off the stage.
Introducing the next president of the United States, Ted Cruz. And then as if she was on a sitcom or a late night show, she just fell off the stage.
Yeah.
And even after she said it, if you look closely at the video, we'll post it in the show notes, or at least Jeff will, it looks like she doesn't believe it herself. She may have jumped off the stage.
That's. I mean, why would you not if you're that close?
If you're going to
Ted
say
Cruz?
something like that, it's
She's-
like, and introducing the next president of the United States, Ted Cruz. She could have just thrown a rope over a rafter and hung herself right there. Instead, she tried to plummet to her death, and she didn't realize that it was only 3 or 4 feet off the ground.
Right. So does this mean that now that Cruz is out, that we need to swear in Carly as the new Ted Cruz? Like, is that how that works?
Maybe she's maybe she's going to ascend to his title.
Let me just tell you, Thomas Eagleton was McGovern's vice presidential candidate. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you had your parties.
I've got my vice presidents mixed up already. So anyway, go on.
Number 4 is my favorite. I loved this. This actually preceded Carly falling off the stage. Got called a miserable son of a bitch and Lucifer by John Boehner.
Yeah, that's right. So
that was my favorite of this whole list. I was like, God damn. That is the first that I know of political naming of someone as Satan since Hugo Chavez called Bush Satan in front of the United Nations a few years back.
Yeah. It's not often that you get labeled as Satan.
No.
Especially by someone in your own party.
In your own party, Yeah. And a guy that was pretty much a pretty bad guy, that everybody kind of hated back in the day.
Right.
And by back in the day, it was like 2 years ago.
Right.
Right. And a miserable son of a bitch is pretty fucking bad. And then to just be like, also throw, Satan after that.
Mm-hmm.
Boehner actually kind of having a good week. He did this, and then he was in a pretty funny video with Barack Obama for the White House correspondent.
Yeah, the White House correspondent, which is another travesty we can talk about later. But
Sure. And then it's going to go real quick here. Was accused of killing Kennedy, lost Indiana, and dropped out. as the last three.
He's accused of killing Kennedy.
Well, his family was.
Right.
This all happened just like once the snowballs started to happen, then all these things just sort of like, oh, his dad killed Kennedy, he lost Indiana, he dropped out. It was over.
That's an example of how you can just take one ridiculous rumor and build on it.
Sure.
Like, we already like to call him the Zodiac Killer. We already like to do that.
We know he killed somebody.
There must be something.
Look at his eyes, man. He killed somebody.
Just look at that guy. But basically, that's how you run against Ted Cruz. You just, the whole slogan is, just look at him. Just look at that dude.
There's something wrong with him.
There's
I've seen him compared to Grandpa Munster. His own children don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, rest in peace, campaign of Ted Cruz. You got really exciting near the end, and just how bad you sucked. And when you're making Donald Trump look like the more reasonable candidate, something's gone really bad.
Now is the time when they all have to decide. They're all going to come to Trump now. Like
they have to.
It has to end.
Even I would if I was a Republican.
The never Trump has to end. You even saw that happen this week, and I was wondering on the way over here if this actually means that you saw it change this week because Bobby Jindal. You remember Bobby Jindal? He was governor of Louisiana.
Peanut butter jelly.
He had an article in CNN the other day.
Oh, he was doing stuff like that?
Yeah, he's back to doing his... he's done a couple things this week. He went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Oh.
And he also was published...
He's hand-rested and ready.
He's back to doing his regular op-ed thing where he talks about Bobby Jindal things on whatever outlet will publish him. And Politico will always publish him. CNN will always publish him. So this week he has this pretty long piece about... And it's titled, Bobby Jindal, How Conservatives Can Win Back Voters from Trump. And it's a long strategic discussion of how they can beat Trump now. And
now that Ted Cruz... Oh, before Ted Cruz.
This is before Cruz drops out. And it was about how conservatives have failed to properly explain to voters what's bad about Trump. All these people in the Republican primaries who are overwhelmingly voting for Donald Trump and have chosen Donald Trump over your parade of buffoons and establishment people. They've rejected Jeb Bush. They rejected
regular old assholes.
Yeah. The voters, for whatever reason, they're right or wrong, they have all kind of said, no, we don't want any of this shit anymore. Fuck you. Donald Trump is a human middle finger. That's basically what.
Right.
So
outside candidate.
So Jindal wrote.
He's going to run that government like a business,
or something, or build a wall, or
maybe a Cox Cable business or a granite business.
Or it's more visceral than even that. It's not even like we need to run it like it's more like
President Camacho type.
Yeah, it's more like we have to we know what the problem is. We'll just scream at it and then it'll go away. And
right. Which is going to be a disaster. Well, it's actually not. Well, who knows?
It's also yeah.
So Bobby
Jindal writes this thing about how we really need to be better at explaining to people. We need to mansplain conservatism better to the voters because obviously they didn't understand us, and that's it's just typical condescension. But the point is that he's still, as of 3 days ago, talking about how we need to beat Trump or how they need to defeat Trump. Well, today, Bobby Jindal tells Politico, "Yes, I will vote for Donald Trump."
Oh,
I'm prepared.
Did you predict that accurately before it happened? Was that a few days ago when you said?
Yeah. So when I read the CNN thing, the first thing I thought was, well, how long is it now before Jindal
you got it on
endorses Donald Trump? Yes.
Wow, that came true for you quicker than you thought it would.
Yeah, it was like 3 days. It's like Christ. It's 3 days.
Right. With the resurrection of Bobby Jindal. So now we're probably facing,
So the point was that somewhere because Jindal is saying this today, he would vote for Trump. Obviously, he's seeing, Cruz is not going to win Indiana, and I need to start being the responsible person, getting on board with uniting the party now.
Right.
So
right.
he's kind of already getting ahead of what that narrative is going to look like next, I think.
And okay, which is going to be.
Which
I don't know. They're funny as fuck.
I know, but now like that's the thing. Like now we don't get to watch the meltdown at the convention.
Right. The guns and all that stuff.
Right.
That is a huge disappointment for me because I was almost expecting that. But maybe Kasich will pull it off.
Someone is going to write that. Someone, Andrew Sullivan is going to write this thing or something about how, now is the time for all the grown-ups to really come back and put the grown-up in charge. Well, they should have been with Kasich the whole time.
He's hanging in there.
Yeah.
And to make another wrestling reference, I forgot who it was on Twitter today, but said he's like one of those battle royal combatants who just sort of doesn't fight anybody and runs around and doesn't get eliminated.
Well, I mean, just so you know, Kasich has 153 delegates at present. Trump has 1,048 if you count the Indiana result. So I don't think the math works out there.
No,
so
it sucks. I'm with you too. I want.
Are you going to go? Are you going to go to an open convention and then nominate the guy who is like running third, like or fourth? Like, what is that?
But will Trump get enough to clinch? It looks like he is, huh?
Probably now. He needs another 200, and there's 200 out there. Unless you see the last charge of the Light Brigade to rally around Kasich, you're not really going to.
No, I don't want to see that. Let's just do this Trump thing that moves us on to, even though Bernie won tonight, probably a Hillary versus Trump presidential election, which I am comparing either to the Harbaugh Bowl or that game that preceded the Harbaugh Bowl, San Francisco versus Atlanta for the NFC Championship that year.
That was pretty bad.
Or Alabama versus FSU college championship a few years back.
Just dismal.
Yeah, we don't know who's going to win, but we know who's going to lose.
Yeah, well, everyone is going to.
Yeah, the American people are going to lose on this one. But we've had 8 great years. I mean, at least I thought they were pretty good years.
It's going to be a wreck. It's sad that it's come to this. Like the whole the way the year has turned has been kind of an interesting thing to watch happen. Like it began in both parties as kind of an insurgency. There's everyone is rallying against the establishment candidate. You can still look. Bernie Sanders if you just count pledged delegates that you actually have won in the primary process, like he's only behind by like 200 of them, which is enough. He doesn't have a shot, but it just shows how to what degree people are not sold on Hillary Clinton in the Democratic Party. And so, we just talked about what's going on the Republican side. Right. So it started as this revolt on of just
anti-establishment. It just depends on what side of the anti-establishment you're on.
Right. And now you're seeing the momentum shift. And you're going to... I mean, it's kind of run out of gas.
But their anti-establishment guy won.
Right.
I say that because I'm sitting here as a liberal, I guess. It's not a bipartisan show.
But he can't possibly win. Like even as much
Donald Trump?
No,
he's not going to win because you can't get by on white boys alone.
Not only that, but just the electoral map is really tough for him, and it's as much as people dislike Hillary Clinton, and I got to say, if there's any candidate out there who could blow this opportunity to beat Donald Trump, it's Hillary Clinton. But it's just going to be, it's a war of attrition at this point. The whole argument, the whole Hillary campaign is, look at that guy. Like we were talking about.
He's anybody but Bush.
Right. Don't pay any attention to me. Who gives a shit who I am? Look.
Nagin sucks. The old Mitch Landrieu from
And that doesn't always work.
2006.
That doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't. You got to have something.
So
it often fails.
So it's going to be a sad race. It's interesting that Bernie Sanders is still winning primaries. He won Indiana tonight. It's not going to matter mathematically, and it's pretty obvious that Hillary has it locked up. But it just looks bad. She just can't keep any momentum going. And I don't even know, I don't even know what Bernie's speech is tonight. Is it just I mean,
yeah.
We won again.
Where's that sparrow at?
Right.
Bring that sparrow back.
But I think that Bernie's big mistake was that he just if his campaign had even thought about what it means to win in the South, even given it 5 seconds thought of how to actually engage with minority voters in the South, who you would think would be people that the Sanders campaign actually cares about. And I mean, I know that they do, but they did zero. They assumed,
ceded the whole thing to her.
They just assumed it wasn't going to happen. And if they had even given it a second's thought as to how we can compete in the South and compete with minority voters, this would be a different story right now, because it's obvious that
he did far better than I thought he was. I thought it was just going to be a walk.
No, because he's not. I mean, it's Bernie Sanders. He's this strange old socialist from Vermont.
Right.
That's not really someone you think of as a natural national candidate.
No. I thought he was a Kucinich.
Right.
I looked at him, I was like, oh, here's the old Dennis Kucinich guy or the Ralph Nader guy who's going to get a certain percentage of the vote, but he's going to get waxed. And then when he started competing, I was like, Jesus Christ. And if the Dems had put anybody up against Hillary, she would have lost.
Anyone who...
Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren, they would have beat her.
I could see Warren being more competitive, although I don't know that Elizabeth Warren is really that strong a candidate when it comes to really getting in there and fighting about stuff.
No, she's always inspired me when she talks and the way she speaks and everything she says.
No, I agree with that. I mean, she's probably as good a candidate as Bernie, but I don't know that she would have been enough to beat Hillary.
I think anybody could have beat her because I didn't see Bernie as being that strong of a candidate. So I would think anybody. I think they just ceded the thing to her, okay, let Hillary have her day. Everybody just let her do it. She's got such a stranglehold on the party over the years. Barack slipped in there, and he was like, "Sorry, all right, here's a Secretary of State post. Sorry about that." And this year they were like, okay, yes, it's her year. Just give it to her. Just give it to the Clintons. And then and we got now we're in the situation where we've got a really unpopular candidate running against Donald Trump. And hopefully she doesn't fuck it up. Yeah. Or hopefully the universe doesn't fuck it up by something else happening.
And it's only because the Democratic establishment has just a little bit less out of touch with the rank and file, just slightly less out of touch with the rank and file than the Republican establishment is. That's really what this primary has been about. The Republican insurgency was stronger than the Republican establishment. The Democratic establishment was just strong enough to hold back the insurgency. But it doesn't have anything to do with Hillary Clinton being a particularly strong candidate. It just has to do with people going, what are you going to do?
So in the general, but in the general, you end up with a insurgency candidate versus an establishment candidate, and we have the establishment candidate. So if this narrative that you've been talking about for several months now, because I've been reading your tweets, if that continues, then she'll lose.
Well, that's the scary part.
If the Bernie voters somehow get finagled into, or at least a portion of them get finagled into voting for Trump, then yeah.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. But that dynamic is what worries you about the general. But really, the general is about other things. It's about electoral college math, and it's about there are states that are just going to be solidly Democratic, and there are states that are just going to be solidly Republican. And so it really just comes down to
Ohio and Florida.
Ohio, Florida, and a couple of the other toss-up states. So
what are they? Virginia,
some years,
Pennsylvania,
Wisconsin, just a few. So in those places, I don't really know that Trump is going. I mean, I don't see it. I'm not. I wouldn't.
Well, that is something to say, because you are one of the most pessimistic motherfuckers I know, and you have said all kinds of shit over the years about people who were going to be president.
Well, I'm just telling you that the system is different from the. Like, this is how screwed up the system is, because it doesn't really reflect the will of the electorate so much as it does the way the screwy system falls out. So.
Well, it's got to be a lot more fun for Donald Trump than it is for Hillary Clinton.
Oh, sure.
Like, if he doesn't win, it's just like, whoa, man, I almost was president. And if Hillary doesn't win, she's going to be like, Jesus, I was almost president. So many times.
Frankly,
she was so close so many times.
I still don't even know that Donald Trump really wants to be president.
It does all seem like a huge joke.
I've long kind of thought, if we really, really want to just stick it to Trump, make him have to go be president.
Right.
That will suck so bad for him. I can't even imagine. He might get through a year and decide to quit. I
wonder who his running mate is going to be.
There you go. So now that's what the convention is going to be about. They're all going to jockey to see. There's going to be half of them who don't want anything to do with it, and there's going to be another half of them who, yeah, maybe I get to be president as soon as this guy flakes out.
A legit politician, or it's going to be somebody like Vince McMahon?
Right. What's Jesse Ventura doing these days?
I mean, or is he just going to go completely fucking nuts?
I don't know.
That's going to be fun. I'm going to say Vince McMahon. I'm going to go ahead and on record and say Vince McMahon.
Okay.
Or his wife.
Okay.
Who has run for some office before. Do you want to do Saints draft and the rest of our stuff now or after the break?
Maybe we should take the break here.
Let's take the break.
Into the politics stuff, and then we'll just, let's do that.
We'll be back, y'all.
So, we're back. And speaking of Donald Trump, the Saints just drafted some people this weekend. What are you doing?
A lot of teams did.
Oh, wait. No. Okay. I'm sorry. I stopped to watch Varg play with the...
It's funny how nervous Jeff gets. Like, I have a monitor that after a certain time will go into auto shut off. And during the first few episodes, every time the monitor would shut off, Jeff was thinking that the entire studio just went out.
It goes blue. It's like blue screen of death.
Right.
It's like
and now to this day, out of habit, even though I think he knows what's happening, I still just tap my mouse a little bit to make sure it comes back on.
Something weird happened.
A nightlight for Jeff.
Mm-hmm. What the hell were we talking about?
Saints.
Okay. All right. So the Saints. Yeah. So all right. This is the story of the draft. Do you watch the draft closely or not?
I watched the first round the other night.
Okay.
I was at Tracy's watching it.
No, you were out in a bar watching it.
Yeah, when this gentleman got drafted, there was a...
that was the guy they were supposed to draft.
Yeah, but he wasn't there. He wasn't in the room.
Oh, he couldn't come out and hug the commissioner. So.
Right. And I was just like, oh, okay. What was he? He was a defensive tackle?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he was not only was he was the defensive tackle that every mock draft predicted the Saints would actually pick.
Oh. So that's what those things are for.
Well, no, usually they're not
usually they're not.
Especially with regarding the Saints, they almost never pick the guy everybody thinks they're going to pick. and they end up doing something incredibly stupid.
Not Barcavius Mingo
Right.
or Barcavius, whichever.
Barkevius.
Sometimes a football player, sometimes a Mandalore warrior. Cousin to Boba and Jango Fett.
Right. A lot of these guys are Star Wars characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kai Forbath, right? Yeah, there's a lot of them.
He's a Jedi master.
Pretty much.
I think
Anyway,
he got killed in the Purge.
right. So they so they here's the thing about Sheldon Rankins. Everyone was both, like you said, not really impressed, but also relieved that the Saints had not made some kind of insane trade up to get one of the quarterbacks or something stupid like that. The big complaint over the last few years has been the way the Saints always trade all their picks away and jump up to get somebody, sacrificing in the future the depth of their roster. They end up with like 4 picks or 5 picks in a draft. Eventually, that cumulatively, that means that, especially if they miss on them, they end up
like
with
Stanley Jean-Baptiste,
right,
for example.
If you're drafting Stanley Jean-Baptiste with your second-round pick and then redshirting him, and then he never sees the field.
Right.
But if you're trading away picks, you have fewer chances to take on a Stanley Jean-Baptiste. And if they all are Stanley Jean-Baptistes...
Right, and then you're fucking up those. You have
Exactly.
fewer picks and fucking up those. That leads to a couple 7-9 seasons, possibly.
Right. So,
they didn't do that.
they didn't do that in the first round, so everybody was kind of relieved that they just picked the defensive lineman and we're done with it.
Just to pick up a little theme from last week's episode, Sheldon Rankins could be a 2 last name guy. I know Sheldon is sort of a first name. I think it was used in When Harry Met Sally. But Sheldon's also a last name. That guy has 2 last names.
Does that apply to quarterbacks, though?
It applies to...
But, I mean, he's
I did, yeah.
You said
on
this
the
was
Facebook
quarterbacks.
page I did for quarterbacks too, but just noted, if we're going to have a scale, maybe Bradley can put a graph together.
Okay. Yeah, we'll
I don't
ask
know if
him.
he listens or not.
No, but we'll talk to him. A graph.
At Bradley Warshar.
Bradley
Does that
and-
work in podcasts? Can we, at somebody audit? Will it pick up?
Oh, if you just say at?
Yeah.
No,
Will Twitter
that's not going to happen.
search the podcast looking for
Will the person
the
suddenly
at
materialize and
sound?
start talking to you? No.
Damn.
Get out of my mentions.
Something to think
Right.
about. Talk to your development people, Twitter.
That's right. Jesus Christ. God, no.
I want 5% of that.
The fuck was I talking about? All right,
Our
so
draft. I'm sorry.
So here's the thing about that. So that was fine watching that happen in the first round. Then in the later rounds, which I don't like the way the NFL has changed it from a one-day thing to a several-day event where you have the first round on one night, you just do one round. And then the next night you do a couple rounds. And then the next day...
They're making a show out of it.
Right, they're making a 3-day...
Yeah. They got to
reality
get
show.
ratings and sell ads and get people into those arenas and make people buy suits and stuff. It helps the economy.
It's so stupid, though. They could just do this all over email.
Sure.
They could just we want this, and this, and whatever, and we would just not know till the next day, and that would be fine.
Yeah, no, not as fun, man. We're football deprived in this time of year.
Right. So this is why we
It
end
lets
up
us
with
see everybody's faces and stuff again.
right.
Oh, there's Rex Ryan.
Here's what it does. It lets us all sit on Twitter and argue.
Which we need to do also. We don't want to worry about lead in the water in Flint and all the fucking time.
When we argue about who knows things.
If we weren't doing that, we'd be out picking up garbage on the side of the road like Engineer Pat and shit.
Okay.
Or tutoring children, man.
Okay, so let me describe to you what we're arguing about. We're arguing about, who knows these unknowable things? This is...
Like who they're going to draft?
Well, not only that, but who they're going to draft, who should they draft, who knows who they're going to draft. Does X reporter have the correct sources? Does this fan on Twitter really know enough information about blah 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 blah.
I know what you're saying, and I was thinking recently, and I think Bill Belichick has like one-upped me on this, which you come at the king, you will miss. But like, I don't understand why some teams don't trade away most of their draft picks for guys that are already established, because at least then you know something about them. You don't get a Stanley Jean-Baptiste. The guy is already there. He's a worker. You get to watch him like actually be in the NFL. They should trade away all their draft picks until the people actually get out there and show themselves, to be NFL caliber.
Well, what the Patriots actually do is they trade away their upper round draft picks, their early picks, and they end up acquiring more second and third rounders, and they end up with more depth than anybody. Like that's been their philosophy for years.
I think that's a sound.
Well, that's what most people think, because again, this is an unknowable thing. Like they examine these motherfuckers. They interview them, they investigate them, they poke them with a stick, they take their body mass, they make them run
in a compound.
Cone.
Combine. I'm sorry.
Right. They put them in the combine. They go to pro day and they make them do weird little runs and
jump up and hit a system of levers.
Right. For what purpose? Like, what is the reason? Like, how does that even help anybody? Here's since we brought this up, there's the Saints in the second round traded up a second time to make a second round pick.
Oh wow!
To get Von Bell, the safety from Ohio State. We got two Ohio State guys.
Oh, all right, Von Bell. I like that. That's sort of two last names.
So Bell didn't participate he didn't do some drills at the combine. So Sean Payton was talking to him before the draft and requested that he do these specific drills or send him videos of him doing these drills at the pro day.
So he had to go to his local high school and do them?
No, he had actually, I'm not describing that correctly. He had done them at his pro day, but Peyton didn't have videos of him doing something called an L drill. Like, it's an L drill in the pro shuttle and a vertical leap and some other of these little drills. But so Peyton asked him to personally send him videos of him doing these things. And like, Peyton is talking to the advocate, and he says, well, it was important to me. I said to him when we drafted him that if you hadn't gotten me those videos, you'd be sitting at home eating nachos right now.
Damn. Put him in his place.
Well, no, I mean, he's like congratulating him on having sent the video in.
But do you think that maybe it's not what the fuck the guy was doing on the videos, but he was like, hey, I wonder if this fucker will go out and film his own videos and send them to me. And if he does, it shows me that he's a, disciplined kid, and we'll draft him.
Yeah, I can fuck with
like,
this
what
guy.
What if he sent him the videos and the videos sucked? And he's like, hey, thanks for sending me the videos, but we didn't like the way you pivoted on that one route.
Right.
That would have been a huge dick move.
It would have been really bad after.
It's like,
and then to call him afterwards and tell him that.
Can you bring us up a couple more references on your resume, and you're trying to get a job at a fucking restaurant or something, and then you do it, and then you don't get hired.
But it's just video of a guy running around and jumping and stuff. Like, it's not. It's Uncle Rico. Uncle Rico was right.
Well, that's what Von Bell should have sent him.
Right.
You're like, hey, fucking Coach Payton, here's some videos of me, and then just send clips of Uncle Rico by his van in the desert. You're like, what you think, man? I got some skills, huh?
It's like Peyton and Loomis.
He would have been sitting at home eating nachos, I bet.
Peyton and Loomis going, this is pretty much the worst video ever made.
How could it? No, Loomis would be like, Sean, how could anyone really even know that? Okay, so we did draft a guy. We drafted Michon's nephew. Michon.
Okay.
And he seems like a pretty good kid. And I was noticing as I was looking up the Carson Wentz article today that right below it on the Players Journal, the Players Post-Intelligence, or what's it called?
The Players Tribune.
The Players Tribune.
But we just read last week Carson Wentz's
hugely douchey article. That this gentleman, Philip Michael Thomas, also has one. And I had it up, but maybe I don't anymore.
It's right there. You're looking right at it.
Oh, yeah.
No, now you're looking
No.
at... Okay, there you go.
Oh, here we go. Philip Michael Thomas. Even though he was coached by Urban Meyer, we're not going to hold it against
Philip
him.
Michael Thomas.
First of all, I expected every player who wrote shit for it to be filled with stuff like Carson Wentz.
Yeah, this is a website where athletes can contribute personal essays about themselves and about what, anything I guess is on their mind, but probably about their own career.
And it's not all boosterism. I expected it to be complete boosterism, but I looked through it a little bit today, and they have a couple little, like a guy was talking about why he retired at 30 and stuff. And
it's like medium for athletes.
Yeah, a little bit. And then Michael Thomas, who is the Ohio State University the official name of that school now? Is it called the Ohio State now? Where are you going for your geology degree? The Ohio State University? No, or is it just football players that call it that?
Yeah, I don't know the derivation of that particular.
Well, it says it's written by Michael Thomas, wide receiver / the Ohio State University, and I think it's the exact kind of the opposite of what Carson Wentz was. He seems somewhat humble. He does use a cliche. But then after it, he acknowledges that it's a cliche. Control what you can control, he says. It sounds cliche, I know, but it has worked for me. And then the rest of it is all this sort of, because I'm a spiritual man. Mm-hmm. I'm a reverend and stuff, and I'm seeking my place in this universe and the place of everybody in this universe.
Well, really, who isn't? But.
Well... I talk openly about it in bars.
I know. You put a lot of effort into it.
And there's a lot of people who aren't actually.
No. Well,
I don't think Donald Trump voters are looking for their place in the universe.
They may be doing it unconsciously.
Well, I think we all do it unconsciously. What I'm saying, Jeff, is that I do it consciously.
I know.
And apparently, by reading Michael Thomas's article, he appears to also, because it is all about accepting the things he cannot change.
Oh, so it's like
having the courage to change the things he can.
He's an alcoholic.
And the wisdom to know the difference. Well, not yet, but eventually he will be. He's making a pretty badass catch in this animated GIF.
There are GIFs in this article.
Oh, yeah. He has included the GIFs, and check that out. Bam. He gets the first foot down, doesn't quite get the other foot down, but it doesn't matter because it's college.
Right. Yeah, that's in the Sugar Bowl against Alabama. He looks good. I like that pick, actually. I think they needed a receiver, and I'm glad they went and got one.
A lot of yards after the ball. Didn't we talk about picking him?
I don't know if we talked about him specifically, but we did kind of, I know that I've told people that I wanted a receiver, so I'm glad they went and got a receiver.
Anyways, he says at the end, he can control what they say a little. So it sounds like a spiritual kid. Way different than that Carson Wentz fucker. And I'll bet you a suitcase of Miller Lite that he has. Well, no, that's not. I don't know. Wide receivers' careers go about 10 years. Quarterbacks go about 15.
10 years is a lot. Receivers, if they're good...
The best ones.
Yeah, the great ones will probably go 10 years.
All right, well, I'm not going to make that bet. I was going to bet his career against Carson Wentz, but probably not a great bet.
Marcus Colston went 10 years, almost 10 years with the Saints. So...
Anyways, this guy, way better article on the Players B.
So...
Or the Players Gazette.
Players Tribune.
Players Picayune.
Philip Michael Thomas.
Philip Michael Thomas. Nephew to Michon.
I like it.
I like him. He's a philosopher.
Okay. No, I have a good feeling about him, too. That's not my beef with the Saints. The Saints... So, getting back to the experience of watching the draft on Twitter is... You have people in different camps. You've got people who've studied a lot of film, meaning they've gone to like YouTube and looked at a lot of their players' highlights, or they've
what a waste of time,
right? Or they have clicked on the player's name on NFL.com and read the scouting report about him and made all kinds of decisions. They're going to make grand pronouncements about him based on that information that they've made.
It sounds all very sporty.
It is. So there's that element. Then there's then there's the people who believe that the team can do no wrong. So like whatever the Saints do that was fun. They did that. They're right. And anybody
I think Jeremy Hebert's like that.
Anybody criticizing them doesn't know what they're talking about because they know more than you know.
Right. That's a decent tactic, though.
Which is,
I mean, if you're trying to have fun,
which is
is the point of all this whole thing.
Yes. But so it's clear that the professional scouts and coaches do know more than you know because they have spent hours and hours and hours
while still curiously not knowing shit.
Oddly enough, nobody knows what the hell is happening because
no coaching staff or team plans on going 3-13 yet.
Somehow they're not all champions.
It does happen.
I don't know how that worked. So what's fun about, especially about the draft, is that as hard as they try to make it super scientific and super, they measure everything they can possibly measure, and they study all the film, and they ask for L drills on, and stuff like that. They still don't know because it's all just human. It's like all like, who knows like what these guys are going to do.
Well, I think you need to read this article that Michael Thomas wrote. It was about controlling the things you can.
He sounds like an alcoholic. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with
great.
that. I hate to be the one to admit
it
to you, but I sound like an alcoholic.
Well, I'm going to sound more and more like an alcoholic the more we sit here because
every word I say sounds like an alcoholic.
Right. But anyway, the thing is this: it's nobody knows what the hell's going to happen. Like it's just it's basically random.
Michael Thomas knows.
It's a lottery.
You can control what you can, and you can't control the rest.
Yeah, but you don't know that he's going to be any good. Like that's
Carson Wentz seems to think he's going to be the most amazing fucking thing on the planet.
They all think that. Like, and they have to say that too because that's part of the job is selling and yourself and posturing and.
Yeah. Well, that article is actually the headline is like, receiver for team seeking receiver or something like that. So he is trying to sell himself.
So anyway, let me finish describing this argument that goes on.
No.
All right. Fuck it.
Go ahead.
Those of us who think that, or who our experience of it is that it's pretty random, we would prefer the Saints to at least take all of the picks that they have in the hopes that they would one or two of them would work out, or even trade down for more picks,
like a Zach Strief or a Marcus Colston,
or whatever,
or a Zach Strief or Marcus Colston,
right? Because you don't. I mean, the idea being we don't really know, if these guys are going to be good or not. But let's take as many of them as we can, and then the odds are some of them will pan out.
And you do this because they cost less than regular guys. Guys you got to go out and sign and stuff like that.
You mean rookies are less expensive than free agents?
And for the first 4 years or so, I guess, you get these guys dirt cheap.
Yes.
And they could be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
For those 4 years. But what the Saints do, their approach to nobody knows, we have no idea what's happening in the future is, no, fuck y'all, we actually know. Like, watch us figure this shit out in crazy ways that are gonna blow your mind.
We're Peyton Loomis,
right? We're gonna trade up into the second round again for the guy who sent us the videos. We're gonna go and get this dude from Canada who
7th round pick from Hofstra.
The 7th round pick from Hofstra, or we saw
Terran Armstead.
Or we're gonna get a guy who's only played field hockey. Or we're going to get a guy...
a basketball player from Miami.
Or a basketball player. Or a guy who we saw, we liked the way he balanced on his hoverboard that one time. And he was like, we know, we can make that guy something. So sometimes that's a
former high school quarterback from Utah living in a van.
Sometimes that's a Marcus Colston or a Jimmy Graham. A lot of the time it's a goddamn Stanley Jean-Baptiste. Like, they decided to pick Stanley Jean-Baptiste in the second round, knowing that he wasn't ready to play.
But that they could bring him around.
Yeah. There's a lot of examples of the Saints trading up to go get guys that don't pan out. they make as many mistakes as they have hits doing that, but their attitude is, no, fuck it, we know what we're doing. And
well, yeah, that is their attitude over the last few years, which is, I think, why they're not doing as well as they used to be. Because I think that Peyton Loomis aura is definitely tarnished. I mean, it's 4, 7, and 9 seasons. No, wait, 1 year they were 8 and 8. I'm sorry, 3, 7, and 9 seasons, and
no, this will be the third consecutive 7 and 9 if it goes that way.
This year,
yeah, they've got a chance to do it 3 times in a row. So that would
they did it twice, and then they did it the year Peyton was suspended, and they did it one of the years after the NFC Championship against the Bears. And then they've done it 4 times.
But they've got a chance to do 3 7 and 9s in a row.
I think they will.
That's going for. I don't know about. I'm not ready to make that.
I think I looked at a stat, and the Saints have over the last few years generally finished 7 and 9, 13 and 3, or 11 and 5. Those are their like standard records. If they're gonna, those are the slots they kind of fill.
Well, as long as Drew Brees can stand up and play, they're not gonna go under 6 games. They're not gonna go under 7 games. I mean,
that's something to look forward to.
6 would be a floor with Drew Brees. Like Drew Brees would just win 6 games for you if he can still play,
despite being a douchebag.
Yeah,
see what a douchebag quarterback will do for you.
But if Drew Brees can't play, that roster is got a lot of holes in it. They got, especially on defense. So if they, and a lot of that has to do with the fact they haven't been able to build the roster by making smart picks in later rounds in the last few years.
There was Browner,
right? Well, that was a free agent signing.
Oh, yeah.
But
I want to say something about Von Bell, and I would like Bradley, even though he doesn't listen to the podcast.
So about Bradley Warshauer, who with his partner Ryan Chauvin writes one of our favorite.
But he writes
blogs.
a lot of graphs too.
Right, but they write the Black and Gold Review blog.
All I know about him is he writes a bunch of graphs.
And
so when I need a stat or a graph,
also Gambit has had him write a couple of pieces for them, and you're right. There will be graphs and numbers, and
he needs to find out whether Bell is, when levied against the popularity of the name versus success in the NFL, if it is one of the more successful.
Bell, the name Bell.
The name Bell.
What was the other thing that you wanted? About first names, right?
First name, people with 2 first names versus 2 people with 2 last names.
And people named Bell. Okay. All right, we'll do
Find
that.
what the most successful last name is in NFL history, and then handicap it by how popular the last name is.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Something for Bradley to think about.
What else did the Saints do with their picks? Well, they went and got the guy from Canada, because you have to get a guy from Canada every year.
Just to be weird.
Yeah, just because they know they traded up for the guy from Canada.
Who was that?
His name is something Onyemata.
Oh,
David Onyemata.
Is he an Islander?
No, he's from Nigeria originally.
Oh,
and he's Nigeria via Canada.
Wow.
Obviously, that's the guy you want.
When I saw the last name, I figured he was another Islander, but no. Huh?
I saw the last name, and people were saying Onyemata, and I'm like, no, Onyemata.
Well, we've got some long-ass last names on the Saints now. We've got some consonants in a row and shit like that happening.
You think that's good or bad?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, let's have Bradley do a graph on that.
Okay.
Consecutive letter. The performance of people with more than 3 consonants in a row that aren't N or G.
Onyemata is not really a consonant-heavy word.
Oh, yeah?
No. But they've got, I guess you're talking about the Clemente and Islanders. Well, anyway.
Let's move on.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about next, Jeff? We have sinkholes, Jazz Fest rain, hipster invasion, termites, Airbnb, Paulson. Let's do that.
You want to do the Eric Paulson? All right.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Okay, what's your take on it?
Well,
It's totally set up, you said.
that was my initial reaction. Was they fucking staged that? Like, that's. I mean, they just went out. Like it's like watching Vice. we're gonna go and poke a stick at the drug dealers and see if they shoot at us. Like that was kind of like
yeah.
But it may not have been staged, but it at the very least it's already being exploited by the station.
Definitely, they're saying we feel as though we must do this to show the violence of the city, which I don't know a single person who lives in this city who has not experienced violence.
Yeah, and they
like
feel
almost everybody has experienced more violence than that. And I did that. My friend Barbara got beat up Monday.
Yeah, nobody's covering up the violence. Like
everybody knows it.
This is not
It's not your job to show it to us. We know it.
It's not a profundity to go in and look at it. It's just.
I wasn't shocked.
No, it's the smug version of bleeds it leads. Like that's you have to deal with it to look at it. That's
this is how we
And they've created this
I would have appreciated it a little bit more if they hadn't been like, here, this is this thing we're doing to be, to pursue our noble journalistic mission. It's like, no, thank you for showing it to me. I did want to see it, and I watched it all the way through.
Yeah.
But, no, I don't need that to see what I know people who have been murdered. We all basically know somebody who's been murdered. That's just like the way it is. Unfortunately, as awful as that sounds, that's what we deal with living here.
Yeah, but there's no...
see a guy get his ass beat and maybe almost pull a gun on somebody. I don't need the news to show me that.
No, there's no need to. You're not learning anything from that you didn't know, like you're saying. And they're definitely exploiting it. And they're also like... They came out today and made this announcement that, after this experience, WWL is partnering with G&O Inc. to talk about how, businesses and entrepreneurs can make New Orleans a better place with less violence. And so like they've already they've already transitioned this like event that they created into
entrepreneurs aren't going to help that shit.
No, well, they're going to gentrify they're going to go out into those places and save them is what they're going to do. That's what's implied by this.
Oh man, yeah. You know what? That whole interview sort of had a really icky feel with it. Like he was saying something about the guy's teeth. Mm-hmm. Which I thought looked fly as fuck, actually. When I saw his teeth, I was like, hey, hell yeah, bro. He's got the full grill on the bottom.
So he's commenting on his teeth.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, but why did you go do that? Why did you go get the teeth and stuff like that? I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He looks fucking badass to me. Isn't he a rapper? I mean, that is the uniform of the rapper. I dress like an artist. You have to look the part if that's what you're going to be.
Right.
And then if that's what that guy's goals are, then fine, let him do it. I like the motherfucker's teeth. Looked great to me. But he spoke down to him about like, oh, see how you're fucking your life up by getting these teeth? And it's like, yeah, you say that, Eric Paulson. But no, he can still achieve with them teeth. It ain't a face tattoo.
But I mean, again, that's just the carnival aspect of it. It's like look New Orleans, look America. We're going to show you something, something weird, something that's going to disturb some of you. And it was
who did it disturb?
I don't know, but it's like watching a fucking Jerry Springer. It's like let's parade something out.
Right. I do know that when I was watching it and I saw that dude over there on the side of the porch talking mad shit, I was like, this guy might be getting his ass whipped. He might need to get his ass whipped. He's talking mad shit up here, and it looks like he maybe doesn't belong. This motherfucker might be about to get his ass, and then sure as shit, yep, he got his ass beat. Yeah. And then when it happened, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. You don't go rolling up on somebody's porch talking all kind of shit like that when they're trying to have a decent, meeting with somebody or whatever business they were conducting with Eric. So you don't go rolling up in it, making it all about you. You get your ass beat doing shit like that.
So do you
don't
think
happen just in the ghetto either. It happens anywhere.
Do you think that may have been arranged somehow? Like they knew that this could have been a situation like that.
Quite easily. But you mean the news arranged it? Or I don't know. I think maybe the dudes on the porch might have arranged it.
Or there was some back and forth that kind of say, something exciting is going to happen, and we're going to show our viewers what life on the streets is like.
Yeah, it could have been arranged. So, it seems... Or the guy came over there because he saw the news was there and was like, let me go make a name for myself.
Right.
At the very least. Or any other level of arrangement could have happened.
So,
I mean, you'd have to look at whether the guy really got his ass beat. Like, how many of those punches really connected? Were they pulling back?
I don't know. I mean,
if he had a gun on him, like...
Nobody got shot.
He let it get taken away from him.
Yeah.
No,
that's all good. That's a good point. Like, I mean, the whole thing might have been staged. Like, it could have been... That was my first reaction, but then people talked me out of that, so I'm like, well, all right, maybe not.
Okay, well, maybe not staged like so much, like totally choreographed, but like, hey, maybe like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge stage.
Yeah,
not as staged as House Hunters,
right?
But but yeah, maybe allowed to happen, nothing done to stop it.
That's close enough from my money. What was really galling is there was a reaction to it. Obviously, they succeeded. They went viral. They made national news, and people were reacting to it. They got what they wanted. And then the station released a letter from the news director saying, "Well, no, we really care. We really care about the violence in New Orleans." And then they hauled out GNO Inc. board chairwoman Maura Donahue, who to make a statement saying, they're going to work with WWL TV, launching something called the Taking a Stand initiative, because we feel it's crucial to understand the causes and effects of violence, to look at those who are making a difference and to try to change the conversation on an issue that will help determine the direction of our region. So it's like
more just infuriating. What kind of speak is it?
It's
that kind of... What's the name for that type of speaking?
It's being an asshole is what it is.
Yeah, because simply it is, but there's just this way of like communicating things that just makes it all
it's smarmy,
super vague and detached, and
it's smarmy talk from Mars. They're they care, they really care.
I need to find out a way to write that type of shit.
But anyway,
sell it to people.
Here's Donahue's quote.
Always looking for that racket, y'all.
This is the part that was the kicker. Maura Donahue says to WWL, companies do not want to bring their employees to this area to open, to expand, or to relocate unless they can ensure their employees a safe place for themselves and their families. So it's all about, the real problem is that we can't attract people to come from other places to New Orleans because they're too scared of the guy with the teeth. That's basically what is baked into that statement.
Black folks.
Yeah.
Ghetto black folks.
Yeah.
Well, where did that happen? What neighborhood was that?
You don't even know.
We can guess where it didn't happen. I can give you about 5 neighborhoods that shit didn't happen in. Which is where that company's employees are going to live, unless they're planning on moving into these dudes' neighborhoods.
Yeah, no, they're all going to come live in, Bywater or, Mid-City or wherever, the rent's too damn high already.
If they're not priced out by Airbnb, which is also on our list of things to talk about tonight.
Yeah, you want to go to that, or you want to do...
Yeah, we can do that. They put up some signs over Jazz Fest admonishing people for staying in Airbnb, taking a supply, or is it? No, a demand approach to it. Trying to convince people that they were terrible people for staying in Airbnbs, which they are. I myself have never stayed in an Airbnb. So...
You know what it is?
I am with you on that. People who wrote that letter.
It's the crucial thing is this. It's not about. There are people who, I mean, Airbnb sells itself as, a way to, a convenient way to sublet your apartment if you need extra money during, whatever, to help yourself make the rent, or to break in, like you have a guest house in the back or something like that. That's what they sell themselves as. But that's not the majority of what happens in practice with them.
Once it gets into the market, it becomes this whole nother animal.
Right.
You can't, like a draft pick, you can't control what happens after.
Right. Something
Themes,
like that.
narratives.
What was it? A couple weeks ago, the story in The Advocate was talking about the website Inside Airbnb, which is New York based, but analyzes Airbnb data from several different cities, including New Orleans. And the latest thing they found was that 72% of the listings on Airbnb in New Orleans are whole home rentals.
So nobody lives there.
So nobody actually lives in the house. Now, it may not necessarily be permanently that way, but that seems to be the implication, that more of them than not are permanently just properties that are invested in specifically for that purpose.
Which you live on that block, you're going to expect people partying a lot, coming in at all hours, parking in front of your driveway, leaving beer cans in the fucking yard and shit like that.
Yeah,
it's going to suck for you.
So that's one complaint. I went to the Linz's Breakfast with the Newsmakers a couple weeks ago, where Meg Lousteau...
Were there Bloody Marys and screwdrivers being
There were
served?
not. They are still not...
Hey, y'all, get with the program. I gave you that for free.
They've not hired a party coordinator yet. But they did have coffee, so we did that. Tim was there, so it was
Tim
me.
with Tim and him?
Tim and him.
Oh.
So we were there... some of our friends were there. So we watched that.
This was in the morning?
Yeah, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Jesus.
I never go to those because 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. But so Meg Lousteau, president of VC
Meg
Pora,
Lestat.
Yeah, our sometimes friend. She gave a talk and presentation about the things that, from VC Pora's point of view, the damage that it does to the integrity of the neighborhood. It's something that in the French Quarter they've been fighting for years and years about how
before there was even an Airbnb.
Right, like just a tendency of the neighborhood to become something less than a neighborhood because it's of the pied-à-terres. And
you don't have an old lady walking her dog every day. You don't have people taking care of their yards. You don't have anybody worried about if they're pissing their neighbors off because they're just going to be gone.
Right. So there's that aspect to it, which I have sympathy for. Like I mean, it's happening in my neighborhood now. Like we're in Central City, and you can see where it's.
Is that what that's called?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
But you can see where, like, especially on our block, there are renovations happening all the time, and I can just go down the block and point to the ones that are short-term rentals. There's a whole building full of them across the street from us. There's a whole building of them catty corner to us. And we kind of are starting to feel boxed in a little bit, like we're the only people left on, in this 2 or 3 block area who actually live here anymore. And it's kind of weird. Like it, just aesthetically, it feels weird.
Right.
You don't really have neighbors. You're constantly dealing with tourists and stuff.
Which sucks.
It does.
They're awful people. Even though I make all my money off of them.
Even though you deal with them every day.
Right. They walk slow.
And I used to work in the hospitality industry, so I had to deal with them every day.
Right.
But I've also, a
lot of them are cool. Most of them aren't.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, like I've become less harsh with people.
Oh, really?
I understand they're just people.
It's all the pointing and the walking slow. And then I'm sorry. I don't want to take this on a tangent where I hate on tourists.
But there is that aspect of it. It's unpleasant that the tourists are not. They're everywhere now. They're coming into the neighborhoods and they're taking over from where
there's not a containment zone for them.
Right. But that isn't really. I mean, those are side issues. That's fine. But the real problem is its effect on affordable housing and the way it drives up rents.
That cuts to the bone.
Yeah. And
it's not a minor annoyance. It's suddenly, you have to live outside of town and drive and keep up a car.
Yeah.
Or take public transportation.
And it's not, and no one is saying that it's like the driving force behind the skyrocketing rents in the city, because it obviously is not. There's several other things that factor into it.
Hipsterism, which we'll get to in a sec.
But that's part of it. But it's also
maybe we will. It's
also the conscious decisions that we've made over the past 10 years to demolish public housing, to limit, the way and the amount of Section 8 vouchers that are available. Hanno says they've got something like 17,000 people on a waiting list for housing for Section 8 vouchers.
Jesus.
We've mowed over the big four housing projects, which you can say good or bad about how public housing was managed. I mean, obviously,
and Iberville,
right?
And then Iberville, after that,
and converted them specifically to, high rent,
mixed use.
They say mixed use, but it's really the whole point of it is to have these high rent condos, especially where Iberville was, because now,
everybody knew that was going to happen one day.
Yeah, so, but there's that going on. There's also there's a lack of affordable housing in that respect. There's just the move back to cities that you're getting into a little bit, where there's a lot of pull for New Orleans becoming a hipster it city. There's
which they don't realize there's sinkholes swallowing everything up.
Or maybe they do realize that and they don't care.
They think that's cool.
Yeah.
Whoa. They do kind of think that's cool.
So there's all those things, but Airbnb is something that you can do something about, and it's kind of insidious in that we've decided that the solution to lack of affordable housing is, if you can't afford to pay your rent, then your real problem is that you aren't being flexible enough. Like you need to open your home to, a boarder every now and then, because that's a
lodger.
Yeah, it's up to you to do that. At the very least, it says that to people. But furthermore, a lot of these, again, the statistics are 72% are whole houses. 44% of the listings are multiple listings. Like you, Lance Vargas, list a property, you would have like 3 or 4 properties listed under your name. And that's 44% of the people listing Airbnb properties in Orleans Parish are putting out...
Own multiple properties,
yes,
and are selling multiple properties. Yeah. And now they have a bona fide supplemented or perhaps total income from it.
Right.
I do know a couple people who are like housekeepers and room managers for Airbnb. I know 2 people now who it's their job to book the rooms, clean the rooms, maintain the rooms for properties like that.
Mm-hmm. So, but you mean people are actually just...
It's their job to manage everything. Somebody else gets the money. They get paid a wage, I think, or a salary. And they have to clean the room, manage anything that happens. I think one of them works 6 days a week, and it's for multiple Airbnbs in one building.
So that's like that basically implies that these people are running a hotel. I mean, they have employees to clean. Yeah. And I actually read an article a couple weeks ago about Airbnb tentatively reaching an agreement with SEIU to encourage...
What is SEIU?
It's a service industry union.
Okay.
To encourage Airbnb owners to employ union labor to clean their properties and stuff.
Okay, so now infrastructure sort of is being built.
Which is...
not like real infrastructure, but connections are being made and work is being done. And to undo it would be a huge pain in the ass. People would lose their jobs. We can't let these people lose their jobs. Can't let these people lose their income. We can't undo this. Blah 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 blah. And the next thing you know,
right. And it's also
the whole thing has been gerbs.
And I think that whole agreement,
Gerbs.
fell through because I don't think it's actually enforceable or, something that can actually. Yeah, it's not a real contract because the individuals who rent properties out are not working for Airbnb. So there's that, but within that is what you just described. It's legitimizing themselves in a certain sense, but also admitting that they are basically running a tourist-driven hotel business. It's not so much.
It's what the animal has become. It's maybe not what they intended, probably what they intended, but not what they sell themselves as.
Right. Because
they can't sell themselves as neighborhood ruiners.
And they're trying to talk out of both sides of their mouth in the meantime, and go and having it both ways. The City Planning Commission sent a list of recommendations to City Council for regulating Airbnb that they're going to take up in the next couple of months. One of the things that Meg pointed out was that cities who have, passed regulations they already have a hard time enforcing them. Like San Francisco has like a 20% compliance rate with their Airbnb regulations. Portland is worse.
So there's like an enforcement issue,
right?
Which is what a lot of issues in New Orleans ultimately come down to.
Yeah,
once the law gets down, then it's a whole nother thing for enforcement.
Right. I mean, it's just like code enforcement. It's like, God, we can't even get to, so and so to stop paving over his lawn or to whatever it is that they're complaining about. You're not doing upkeep on your property. Well, this is the same thing. How are you going to enforce door to door?
Or like my landlord, Karen Gaibois, posted today, a guy tore down a very historic house, paid a $13,000 fine for doing so, and then sold the house is on the market for $1.5 million now. So
yeah,
they'll just pay the fine unless the fine is. Or I think that happened also in the quarter where they tore down a house, a carriage house that was of historic value, paid a $6,000 fine. So they just kind of folded into their operating costs.
Yeah, it's like no skin off their nose. And
but that happens a lot, UPS drivers just park anywhere and get tickets.
Right. Well, it's the same.
Maybe the cities just want to get paid.
It's the same principle, and that's the problem. From City Council's point of view, it's really a revenue issue. Like they're just trying to figure out how we're going to get paid a little bit.
But then fuck up the people who live here.
Yeah, no one is talking about it as a housing issue. Well, people are talking about it, but no one who gets listened to is talking about it as the housing issue that it is. And that's the main problem in New Orleans right now is housing. Like, what are we doing to see to it that people who live and work in New Orleans and do the real work of making New Orleans go can actually live in the city? Like, it's becoming
miserably, I think, is the answer.
Well, that's exactly.
Yeah, with very little future.
Right, and so the point of contention, the biggest point of contention in the upcoming debate about regulating Airbnb is CPC recommends banning whole home rentals
in a perhaps Zweckentfremdungsverbot.
What?
Are you saying that New Orleans is going to institute a Zweckentfremdungsverbot, which is what Berlin is calling their anti-Airbnb law? Which
so in Berlin,
there is 4 consonants in a keeping up with the theme.
Right.
There's 4 consonants in a row. At least once, twice in that word. It's called Zweckentfremdungsverbot, which is just a little. It might be as long as supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah, so this is an interesting story.
Berlin banned entire apartment Airbnb rentals.
Right. And
so you got to have a room in your house, and you got to live there, I guess is what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. And then when the law went into effect this month, I think, they found Airbnb, in compliance with this law, wiped out like 2/3 of the listings in the city in Berlin because they were all
Suddenly just blipped out of
Right.
existence.
Berlin is doing something interesting there, and also Barcelona is the city that people point to a lot, is really taking a hard stand against Airbnb. Barcelona is taking a hard stand against tourism in general because the left wing mayor of Barcelona has taken the stance that upper class tourism is just ruining Barcelona for the people that live there. So that's an
I
interesting.
can easily see how that could happen.
Mhm. And it's something to watch if you live in New Orleans. Oh, you're going to translate Zweckentfremdungsverbot.
It's called a misappropriation ban.
How do you like that?
That's what Zweckentfremdungsverbot, when translated from German English, means misappropriation ban.
Okay, it's so much better if you say Zweckentfremdungsverbot.
Well, the Germans, they name their shit something, so it can. But yeah, bravo to that writer who wrote that out like that.
Right.
I had a point right before we did that. Rich tourists fucking everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't go to the store and get a loaf of bread without paying out your ass for it. You can't go to the barber shop. You can't do all these things that a normal person who lives in a place would go and do without paying out your ass for it, because a tourist could come by who has disposable income and get it the same.
Not only that, but it's changing in some areas. It's changing what is even available.
You might not get the loaf of bread.
Maybe not. Meg talked about this too.
Just a T-shirt.
There's right.
You want a $10 T-shirt? That's there. Loaf of bread? Maybe not.
Right. The corner stores in the quarter, for example, are like, well, we don't really have groceries and shit anymore. We just have, razors or whatever it is the tourists might need on the go.
Right.
And that's all they come in for. So,
a barber shop or a pharmacy or something such as that, less so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rich tourists, they could fuck everything up. I'm with you on that. Maybe let's move on.
Okay.
I think we've bitched. That was sad as fuck.
Yeah, that was a lot of bitching.
You want to do a speed round on the end of this? Because
speed round.
we're at an hour and a half.
Oh shit. Well, okay, so definitely let's talk about the sinkhole.
Sinkholes. It's a phobia of mine. I don't know if any of y'all have been following this, but
Everybody's been following the sinkhole.
I am terrified of sinkholes, Flocka, which is a drug, cruises, not Ted Cruz's, regular cruises, falling limbs, hemorrhagic fever, and the entire country of Russia. Not people who come from there, just the land of Russia. I don't want to be there.
You don't want to invade
I'm
Russia
afraid
with
of
your
it.
army.
I
Definitely
don't
don't,
want to
ever
be
make
in
that
Russia.
mistake. Okay.
Horrible shit happens there.
Right.
The people are cool. I know lots of cool Russians. I don't want to ever go to Russia. I don't ever want to be around a sinkhole. So what's happening, although I'm not afraid of these New Orleans sinkholes for whatever reason. They don't scare me.
Well, they're not frightening. I mean, they're not
The
even...
Canal Street one, who didn't expect it? That's almost like an infrastructure failure. Not a real sinkhole where some sort of limestone gets eaten away by something and it causes a crack in the earth. In fact, I think both of these are probably infrastructure problems, right? A poor drainage system or something like that.
Okay, so with the, they say 40% of the water in the water system is leaking underneath the city.
Right, which is why Apricot Street right now is completely torn up. When Jeff came in tonight, our whole street's torn up because they're fixing the drainage.
They're preventing sinkholes right now.
Right.
So they're doing some work. But
Chalk that one up to Karen Gadwall,
it's a perfect example of...
I guess.
Just
I'm assuming she complained a lot. And that's
I don't
why
know. I think they dug up some trees or something that Karen was upset about. But
yeah, well, she was going to be upset about something.
But it's a good example of... A couple episodes ago, Allie actually mentioned... it might have been the one in the bar... the importance of shovel-ready projects.
I did remember that phrase
from
the bar episode.
So this is... when people are looking for stuff to do to put money into the economy. Where almost a decade ago now, when Obama
not only do we got to fix shit, we got to make money doing it.
Well, when they were talking about the stimulus package, when they were trying to put people to work immediately doing things, there was this talk about shovel-ready projects. What can we send people out to do now? And there was this huge debate about what's a shovel-ready project or not. And then, the conservative point of view was, there aren't enough. There's just not enough to do. We don't really need to throw money at things. But you can look around everywhere at crumbling infrastructure. A great example of this is the water system underneath New Orleans, but also the roads. There's so many things you can do. And the sinkholes are a great example of this. Like the one uptown on Constantinople Street the other day, that's a perfect example. There's a broken water main. Like water main breaks under the water, must be 70 years old or something.
And then the heavy rains create more flow underneath it, which eats away more soil, and then.
So that's what that is. The one on Canal
thank
Street.
God Apricot Street is fixed.
The funny thing about
Unsafe.
the one, well, maybe you don't know what they're going to do. They'll come in and dig everything up, and then people will complain about the foundation and stuff.
Well, yeah, I think that's probably what caused the whole thing to happen, is that people's foundations, which if from our basement apartment view, you can look at the foundation of the house and see it's a little funny.
It's a little off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked at a house when I was back in 2005 that was in Broadmoor by Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
And that foundation was completely jacked up. In fact, all of the houses around there were raised basement houses on chain walls, and all of them were jacked up. And if you drive around that neighborhood now, you can see multiple projects of people lifting their houses and getting it all fixed up.
Where was it again? In Broadmoor where?
In Broadmoor, right at Napoleon and Claiborne.
That might be Sela.
The thing they're doing right now?
The thing they're finishing up this year. That's been ongoing for years, and there have been complaints about foundation damage for that. So it's a similar thing they're digging out there.
Yeah. New Orleans is sinking.
Yeah. Anyway, the Canal Street sinkhole I wanted to talk about, because that was the one that's a little bit different.
Unrelated to drainage.
Right. It's
someone dug a tunnel and just walked away from it.
Basically, yeah. There's two things about it. One, every story about it is like, not many people know about the tunnel underneath the Canal Street, but
everybody knew about it.
Everybody knows about the tunnel. Like, people know.
And you made was it you that made a snarky comment about it? How it's just the news is just for people who just moved here now.
It might be.
You don't remember doing that, but you easily could have.
It feels that way sometimes. Okay. So there's that. But the other thing about it is the Canal Street started buckling like a week or so ago, and they went out and they talked to an engineer. WWL-TV talked to H.J. Bosworth from levees.org. I don't know what why they grabbed him, but he talked about the tunnel underneath Canal Street, and he said that he wasn't really concerned about it being. He said the collapse wouldn't be catastrophic and things dropping like 20 feet or anything. Something like this collapses little by little.
So he was wrong.
Right.
So he was like, fuck.
And I thought for a minute, wow, we really have turned the corner from Katrina. We're back to shit that just decays little by little now.
Right. And then all of a sudden,
no,
lo and behold,
the next week,
it collapsed lot by lot.
And the mayor said it was catastrophic, and it was the worst thing he's ever seen.
It was not catastrophic. That was not a catastrophe.
It was pretty impressive, though.
It's big.
According to Mitch, it was nothing short of incredible. So
I don't know about all that.
And everybody so as people do.
It is a completely different type of sinkhole than the Constantinople one, or the Taft one.
Yeah, so
I used to live on that block, and that block was really low.
But don't they happen all the time? Sinkholes? There's always.
You had one in front of your place, didn't you?
Yeah, we had one in front of our house.
You planted a sunflower
for 5 years.
Someone murdered it. Yeah.
People dumped a.
That was from drainage.
People dumped a futon in there. People dumped a car seat in there one time.
It's a sinkhole. Is just a fully developed pothole.
Yeah.
A pothole gets ignored enough, it becomes a sinkhole. It opens up all of a sudden. And I think this
Every
rain that we
pothole
had,
wants to be a sinkhole.
Yeah. Try hard and you'll be a sinkhole one day, little pothole.
So people like here. So the thing about it is, something like that happens, and people enjoy it. Like it's not.
It's a fun thing that happened.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Oh my God, everything's terrible, and they need to fix my streets. I pay my taxes. Blah blah blah. Instead, it's kind of a funny thing that happened.
Well, that's kind of dangerous to me because I think, and this is kind of a narrative that I've had for a while when, people are moving here and buying houses up. I was like, no, it sucks. You don't pay that much for it. Shit sucks here. The drainage is all broken up and streets are falling into it. You don't want to pay $500,000 for that.
And furthermore, the whole city is going underwater in 50, 60 years.
Right. Like, no. Go back.
Right.
Move to Denver or someplace, don't bother with us. It sucks here. It's not quaint. It's not a fun thing. It really sucks. So people get beat up on front porches.
Yeah.
When the news is there. Did that guy could have caught a charge on that, huh?
I mean, yeah,
the
maybe.
news was right there.
Maybe we should put a bet on it.
I don't think he's going to get a charge.
Can we bet on whether another guy?
Basically, that dude does. I mean, I know he didn't throw. I don't know what happened, but that dude deserved to get his ass whooped. That's my West Pensacola mentality about it. It was like,
right.
You don't roll up on somebody's porch talking mad shit when they trying to do an interview on the news and get their little 15 minutes, and you want to roll up on their porch and talk shit. You might get your ass whipped.
It's like Reno 911.
And the dude who did beat his ass, I was like, yeah, when I'm looking at these two dudes, you, dude, you probably shouldn't fight this dude. You might get your ass whipped. And lo and behold, he did.
Yeah. Great.
Let's have a speed round for the rest of these.
Okay, well, so Sinkhole de Mayo. What's going to happen?
I don't know what that is, and I have no. I looked in my pocket. I have no fucks to give about it.
You don't give a shit.
What are they going to do?
I think that what's going to happen is a lot of people are not going to do anything. Some people will go to their nearest sinkhole and drink a margarita and take pictures of themselves and put them on Instagram.
That's going to happen.
And then everyone's going to go, oh yeah, I remember when that happened.
There's going to be lots of pictures.
Yeah, so that'll be great. And there was this,
it will be sold as an event better than it probably will be.
Yeah, and then the two things happen with it. One, it happened, and a bunch of people started to go, "Oh yeah, only in NOLA, in NOLA will we do this." When it doesn't really matter, like where you. That to me, that was not within the spirit of it. To me, it was like, "Hey, let's make light of this thing that happened and kind of like not take ourselves seriously and kind of like have a little fun with it." And it should have stopped there, but then behind it comes. Look
Facebook shares and
how special are we in New Orleans that we can appreciate the sinkhole? God,
right.
And
those motherfuckers should go out to the Bayou Carn sinkhole if they got fucking balls.
Yeah,
if they want to
should.
go. Yeah, go out to the real one, the one that'll eat your ass up.
Right. So right
where there's an actual danger.
So behind that comes the inevitable reaction of, oh well, fuck those people, like we're too cool for that, and the whole thing is stupid. And
certain people on Twitter that we probably don't need to mention.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. So
I have to side with the curmudgeons on this one. It is totally dumb. Well, also I have a phobia of sinkholes, so there's no way I'm going near one. Right. No matter fucking how fake it is, or
I'm not on either of those people's side. I thought it was like, let's just make fun of the sinkhole and not involve.
Well, how much material is there
it.
in the sinkhole?
That's it. Just make a few jokes and move on. It's fine.
What was your favorite sinkhole of all time?
My favorite sinkhole of all time.
Do you have a favorite sinkhole?
Was ours, yeah. The one by our house was our favorite one.
Oh,
we had one that we owned for a while. Like we took care of our sinkhole.
That one, yeah. I like the one that swallowed up the Corvettes. That one was pretty
That
cool.
was pretty good.
Because of all the places it could form, it happened to form like right underneath 5 like classic cars that were irreplaceable in the classic car, like in the Corvette plant.
Yeah.
And there was video of it. That sinkhole made a...
There was one in Baltimore last year that was pretty dramatic. That they all just fell off a cliff.
Oh.
It was pretty.
Was there
scary.
video of it?
Yeah, you can find that one.
The one that ate the man in Florida was terribly sad, and they never
eat
found
you in
him.
Florida, including sinkholes.
There's a lot of sinkholes in Florida.
Yeah.
Not in Pensacola, but that one was terribly sad because the man ran in there to find his brother, and he just looked into his room, and there was just a sinkhole there, like this. It's just opened up inside. This man was sleeping in his bed, and just it was awful.
Scary.
There, in my house in Algiers, I've been scared several times. One time I was like doing some digging and I came upon something that looked like there was a void underneath. There was just like a black spot. There was some concrete there, and I looked and I was like, oh God, there's just a lot of space in there. I can't see in there. And I took a clothes hanger, like a wire hanger, and I unfolded it completely. And then I stuck it all the way in there. And I never felt any resistance. It was about a yard. And I stuck it in there. And I was like, uh-oh. And Josh Murphy from Magnolia Builders, because they build it better, who sponsors the Hunker Downcast, told me that there was probably some subsurface drainage that was there at one point, and that it was probably like the same fucking shit that's going on around the city was cracked and leaking and shit. And I looked at my house, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see how the house is kind of leaning in that direction.
Oh no!
So there's a possibility.
Is your house going to fall into a hole?
Oh, possibly. I don't know. Also, I had a weeping willow tree in the back that had a branch that had been eaten by termites, and I pulled it out and I sprayed some termite spray in there. And in the instructions, they said, wet the termite spray, and then the termites will eat it and they'll die. So I took a hose with a nozzle and I put it in that little hole, and I just pressed it, and then I just kept it there for 5 minutes. And the water just went into the tree. I never saw it bubble up or anything like that. It just went into the tree and then down into the ground, and who knows where the fuck it went. And then one time...
Did the termites die or
the
not?
termites quit eating it because it was dead wood, and they don't eat anything but live.
So
they only eat dead wood. And then one time I was walking around on the concrete, and I pushed down, and I heard like this... And I was like, uh-oh. Sinkhole, because I'm afraid of them. And then I lifted up, and I was like... And I pushed down and I heard... I was like, there's a sinkhole underneath me. I'm pushing on this concrete, and it's pushing into the sinkhole. But it was really just a little hole in my crock.
So you just had some kind of sinkhole phobia there that was...
Well, there is subsurface drainage that's fucked up.
Yeah,
and the house is... The tree, I don't know where that water went. I held it there for 5 minutes.
All right, well,
But the crock that was a false hole.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you didn't get eaten up yet.
It could happen at any moment. That's the fucked up thing about sinkholes. Right. Not ones that you go party under that everyone knows, oh, there's a tunnel there. But those ones that just fucking pop up out of nowhere and swallow your ass up. Look it up on YouTube, y'all. Put sinkhole in on YouTube and you'll see.
Okay.
That they swallow up Chinese people walking on the street and stuff.
Sinkholes are bad.
It killed a man in Florida. They never found that motherfucker either.
I was surprised.
They just piled a bunch of shit into the sinkhole and put a memorial there.
I was surprised that Mitch Landry was so adamant about, talking about how bad the sinkhole was, because I thought maybe a sinkhole, if nothing else, a sinkhole is the manifestation of doing more with less. Like, it's growing into nothing. Like, that's... Well, you would think that it would be his favorite thing in the world.
He's going to have to pony up $5 million. Maybe that's why he was a little... why he was calling it a catastrophe.
Ready. Yeah, shovel ready. But anyway, so, okay, sinkhole.
We had Hipster Invasion on here, but I don't see anything new about that.
No, it was just the New York Post had a stupid article today about, some hipsters want to come to New Orleans and frolic in the, whatever the... It was bad. It was just...
But the hipster should know when the word hipster is used that's over.
Even the word hipster is over, or just
Well,
the
no,
thing
that
is
if they
over?
see somebody, the nature of a hipster is if they see something said a hipster place to go,
Yeah.
that they will avoid that.
Okay.
And they'll go to Topeka or something like that.
Yeah, what is it? Let me see if I can... This article, yeah. New Orleans has long been famous for its centuries-old voodoo culture, historic bed and breakfasts, Cajun food, ghost tours, and, of course, Mardi Gras.
Are those the 5 things that we're most famous
That's what we're
for?
most famous for. On the other side of town...
Ghost tours.
The Garden District is getting tons of attention, and not strictly because Beyonce and Jay-Z reportedly bought a home there last May. So, like, shit like that. It's just one of those articles. But everybody blew up about it, and here's the thing that I keep emphasizing. Is a lot like the Airbnb issue is keep your eye on the ball. It's not about all the culture bullshit. It's not about people who think they're too cool or not cool enough for whatever trend is there. It's about how much can you afford to live in the city. Is it just a playground for rich people, or is it a place where people live and work? And if a thing is encouraging or discouraging people who can't make enough money from being able to live here and work, it's bad. Other than that, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit how much kale you eat or whatever thing you're into. Right. Well, whatever. All the other stuff is bullshit, and I don't know. People get distracted from the important thing.
I don't know. First of all, everything you said was amazingly true, and bravo to that. And I agree with you totally, even if I didn't realize it before you just said it. But I think that is their way of doing their part. They know. They probably can't say it in the same way, but they know that it's an arm of the beast that they also hate.
Yeah, okay, that's probably true.
They just attack what they know they can attack.
It's like
they
angst
feel
without...
that way. They just need somebody to come and spell it out for them.
Okay,
which is what the Hunger Downcast just did.
All right,
so
maybe.
Keep your eye on the ball, people.
What else
you can bitch about the kale, but also bitch about. Say that again?
About, the economics of it.
The economics of it.
Or the housing issue. Like, Airbnb is a housing issue. This is not...
Hipsterism is a housing issue.
It's not a culture issue. It's a goddamn class issue.
Which then will become a culture issue further down the road.
Yeah, it can be, but whatever. Anyway.
Termites. We have on our list. The Formosans swarmed last night.
They were back. They're back. It's that time of year. I'm going to write a sitcom, and it's about a pair or a group of young termites trying to make their way in the world.
Formosans.
Yeah, it's like Friends, but for termites.
It could be called the Formosans.
Friends, Formosans, the Mary Termite Moore show.
Okay.
But it's about they're just trying to find love, because that's what the termites are doing. They're just out looking for a mate, trying to
There's
find
some
a place
light over there. You want to go hang out by it?
Right. I could, but there are problems. They can't afford a house to eat. The
house has treated lumber.
Yeah, they try to make a few extra bucks, ride sharing their swarm or whatever. It's hard for them.
They could be like, that swarm last night was so lame.
Right, and you have to rate it that. Anyway, that's my idea.
They would hang out in historic neighborhoods mostly. That's where the wood is good.
Maybe, but young termites trying to, because the reason I thought about this is Times-Picayune published an article about the termites, and they described the termites' life cycle, and it's they're just trying to mate, they're just trying to mate and bed down and find a home and
eat it.
They're young millennial termites trying to struggle with the circumstances of skyrocketing rents and not enough. They can't save for retirement, and it's difficult. It's hard to be a termite these days.
I bet. Well, I killed the fuck out of some at my place in Algiers, or at least Terminix did.
Well, then there's that. There's poison. There's lead contamination and all kind of problems with it. So
yeah. They what happened? When do their wings fall off? Because I've looked in the corner of my house and seen just a bunch of wings.
Ew. Probably once
that wasn't in the article.
No.
Or we'll include that in the show notes.
Well, they did mention that
It cost me $1,500 to get them out of my apartment in Algiers, and they ate the fuck out of some shit.
Ugh.
That's not like including the repairs that I have to make due to their eating shit.
They weren't out. They weren't out by us last night. They were out everywhere else apparently.
I didn't see them here.
Yeah, and I know Minkles goes outside and sits on the porch, which is really the sidewalk, and reads a lot of the night. Like she'll just sit out on the porch and read her book. And I didn't hear from her for a long time, and I was expecting her to come running in and say, "Hey, there's termites," but she never did. And I started to wonder if maybe they got her.
If she was made of non-treated wood.
Yeah.
They didn't, huh?
No, she's fine. Everything's fine. They didn't even show up. They're probably there now.
I think we've got everything. No, Jazz Fest happened and it got rained out, and everybody was exceptional about that also. They made a big party of the rain.
Oh, God. Yeah, well, see, that every year, and this is not going to sound being an original observation, but it's fucking horse shit. Like, literally horse shit. People swimming and dancing and sitting in the horse shit.
Right.
And it's the grossest thing I've ever seen, and I can't believe that people do that every year.
I think WDSU actually made a video about it, showing them doing it and then listing all the things that they could get from doing it.
And you shouldn't even need the news if you're at the fairgrounds, like the day after it rains and like the sun is beating down. Oh,
right.
It's the worst thing. And it's always right there in the food line too.
Right. That seems to be where the horse shit is the worst, which is strange because it's where the food is.
Because you're like, man, I'm hungry, and you're smelling that horse shit the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, especially on a humid day. I couldn't believe that they didn't cancel it because it seemed like on the day it was happening, just knowing what I've seen of people at venues during lightning storms, and there's been several stories over the last 5 or 10 years, it seems like stop the show. It was raining hard, there was thunder and lightning, there's metal structures everywhere. I couldn't believe that they kept going.
I think that they were just pissed that they had gotten rained on 2 days in a row, and they just were just.
Well, I was pissed too, man. I missed 3 days at Jackson Square, and I lost thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's got to be bad. It's got to be bad in the square.
Fuck, I mean, you don't want people to get struck by lightning,
right?
Or for the winds to blow stages over, which I've seen videos of that happening. Yeah. Come on, Quint.
Well. Anyway, so that was Jazz Fest. I didn't even go this year. I had tickets for the second weekend, and I could have gone either Saturday or Sunday, and we just did not. We didn't even decide. We didn't go out in the rain.
Apparently, Neil Young did a crazy ass set where he just played like his grungy shit and feedback, and everyone was pissed off about it.
People either loved it or hated it.
Yeah, there was no in between.
There were some people who loved it. So I mean, I kind of regret not seeing that. I would have seen that.
Yeah, I would expect. Your Jazz Fest crowd is not going to want that.
Yeah, well,
they're going to want Heart of Gold and Harvest Moon.
And anyway, what else you got? Anything else on
That's
the list?
it.
Wow, we went through the whole thing.
I'm moving my gallery, the Dirty Boys.
Oh yeah.
It's not going to be on 623 St. Peter anymore. It's going to be on 901 Charters across from Harry's Bar. So y'all come by and say hi.
When are you guys moving?
We're planning on being open not this Friday coming up, but the Friday after that.
Okay, so 2 Fridays from now, Dirty Boys opens across from Harry's Corner.
It's going to be me and my main man, Jeremy Hebert. We're both going to be 50% owners, which is a little different than our previous setup. There's going to be a bunch of salvaged wood art in there, salvaged windows, and some Southern art. We're going to find some good Southern art, put that in there, and build it from there. So if you need any art for your house, cruise on by.
Cool.
Anything else? Let's see. I'm getting a tattoo of 3306 tomorrow.
Okay.
Which
that is the number of Purple Rain on the jukebox at Molly's.
Right, which I normally wouldn't get a tattoo about a celebrity, but it's not really as much about Prince as it is about Prince, my friends, and my favorite bar.
All right.
So I allowed it. And it's not going to be an image of Prince. It's going to be an image of the words 3306. I'll post it on the Facebook page.
Okay. I don't really think I have anything other than the last thing I did was I went to breakfast with the newsmakers. And I've been ever since the Crescent City Classic, where I injured myself. I've been trying to take a little weight off, and I've lost
every
10 pounds
physical
this month.
thing you do, you
Yeah.
injure yourself.
Yeah, well, so
But you quit eating food. That's how you took the weight off.
that's
right?
that's how you lose weight. You stop.
No,
eating.
you work out, or you can't
Well,
because you're hurt.
I've been right. That's the problem. I've started running again this week. I ran 2 miles yesterday and 2 miles today, and then my leg tightened up again.
Okay.
So
well, that's
it's a little bit at a
that's
time.
HIV, bro.
I know, but it's fine. I'll just stop eating, and it'll be all right. Anyway,
That sounds like a great plan.
okay.
It's not going to be unhealthy for you in any way.
No, of course not.
You don't need food.
Just beer calories. Do we have anything else? We don't have anything else, right? So,
No.
I guess
I'd like to do something crazy and off the cuff at the end, but I can't think of anything.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to be the way we finish this. Allie couldn't be here with us this week. We might do another bar show towards the end of the week, depending on how things go.
Is it going to be at the same bar?
Who knows? Tune in to find out if we even do it. But other than that, I think that we're done. You can always catch up with Varg on Twitter. You can catch up with Varg at the gallery, which is moving.
At Varg Vargas. At Dirty Boys.
You can follow the show at Hunker Downcast. We like to hear from people. You can email us at hunkerdowncast@gmail.com. And besides that, I think we're done here. So thanks, everybody.
I'm trying to populate that Facebook page a little bit more, so y'all check it out and share it and like stuff if you see it.
All right.
It helps us.
And I think that's all we got.
All right, wait, are you doing the bar politics thing? Did y'all make it into
we didn't
that?
even talk about that. Holy shit. Yeah. All right. Real quick, bar politics. Allie and I went to see bar politics a couple weeks ago at Cafe Istanbul. They're going to be at the Broad Theater on May 9th. And Allie is actually going to be in the program. At least our last talk with them was she's going to be on stage getting interviewed. So it's a really cool event. They do it's like a daily show on stage basically, but you know local themes. And this time out they're doing it was supposed to be transportation, but it's really going to be more about bicycling. So that should be a lot of fun. We know a couple of the people that are involved, Bob Murrell, Charles Scully, Abby Botnick. They're really funny, so go check them out if you can. And yeah, so besides that, that's all I got.
Okay, me too. Bye, y'all. Dee, 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 dee.